Welcome to another special edition of Talk Fulton. My name is Kathleen Brown, Public Art Education Coordinator at the Public Art Futures Lab. We're here today spotlighting artist Owen Rohm's work. He was a 2024 MARTA Artbound Artist in Residence at Public Art Futures Lab. Thank you so much for being here, Owen. We're really delighted to talk with you.
I am so excited to be here.
So think way back to when you first heard about the MARTA Artbound residency. And do you remember what drew you to apply to it with your team member, Mira Kaufman?
Yeah. It's been a little while, but thinking back, I remember it was an Instagram post. I studied design at Georgia Tech, so we always had a bit of a art meets technology kind of angle to our program. And obviously a huge fan of MARTA and public transit, urbanism in general. And actually I had reached out to Mira because she had already done she's a city planner and an artist as well. And she had actually already done some like stickers on her own of MARTA related like activities, buses and MARTA riders and things. And I was like, oh man, this is such a niche overlap of like art, technology, urban planning, public transit. This is like perfect for Mira. I'm definitely not going to tell her about it because she would totally beat me out in terms of getting that spot. But I couldn't bring myself not to. So I mentioned it to her and sent her the link, and she was like, actually, it says we could apply as like a duo, as a collaborative project. And I was like, oh, perfect, let's go. Because she didn't really have the tech background as much as I did. So for like the 3D modeling that we wound up doing, that was definitely more my ballpark than the urban planning was.
Right.
Hers, yeah.
So y'all ended up doing like 3D designs, 3D printing these like pretty advanced kind of like buildable models that were like designed after certain MARTA stations. But can you kind of talk about why you were focusing on certain stations and what part of that project?
Yeah, so we were really inspired by this artist named Jenny Odell, who writes about getting people to kind of slow down and appreciate the more like mundane daily things in their lives. And we thought that a scavenger hunt would be a really nice way to get people to look into MARTA stations that maybe they wouldn't pay so much attention to usually. And yeah, just kind of experience those in a way that maybe they weren't before as they're going through their daily commute. So we took some time to look through all the great MARTA Artbound projects that have been done around stations in Atlanta. And we wound up settling on the Decatur station and the West End station, as well as Five Points, to sort of highlight some of the art pieces there and some of the interesting things going on at those stations. And yeah, we then based our like prizes for these scavenger hunts. So it's sort of two pieces, right? Getting people to go through these scavenger hunts to slow down and take some time to look at the stations. And then there's like a race element for the scavenger hunts that we were doing too. So the winners of those races wound up getting a prize, 3D printed prize. You might be like, oh, racing through looking slowly. How does that work? But, it wound up being all right. Still people slowing down to take the time to appreciate these things. Yeah.
So can you talk about how you used both the Futures Lab space and the equipment offerings? I know for y'all's team, you actually needed some more equipment. So could you talk about like how that process was?
Yeah. So the Futures Lab has a 3D printer, and I have my own personal 3D printer that we wound up using for the project. 3D printing is just a sort of a time-consuming thing, so having two printers was really nice. But yeah, the space itself is super cool. Definitely enjoyed hosting our monthly events there, and it was great to see the community come out and like engage in our little activities and things. It was a lot of fun, yeah, and it's a super interesting little space and all the tools and things. I honestly wish we had used more of them because it's pretty well stocked in terms of like VR headsets and things that we just didn't quite get a chance to play around with too much. But
planning multiple community-wide scavenger hunts is like, that was pretty time consuming. So you get a pass for not using everything we had in the library. So could you kind of talk about y'all had a landing page, you had all of these different like elements that went into the scavenger hunt. What was your part of that? What was Mira's part of that?
So Mira was in charge of actually making all the scavenger hunts, but we did walk around together and kind of find like little details. And Mira has such a like beautiful ability to notice all these tiny little details that are just like so cute and charming in spaces as we're walking through them. And yeah, it was definitely great to work with her on that. And then yeah, we wanted to make sure that it was very accessible to be able to do these scavenger hunts, so we just had it on people's phones rather than like printed documentation or anything. Save the environment and all that. Most people have phones anyway, so we thought it would be a nice way to leverage stuff people already had. And yeah, I think it wound up working really well. People seemed to respond well to it. Didn't have too much trouble navigating through.
No, you had very excited finalists who came back every single scavenger hunt.
Yeah, the repeat participants was really cool to see, because for the first one, everybody was, or a lot of people were strangers, and then by the last one, people had recognized each other and were sprinting to the finish line.
You also had some promotional, like special collectible, even MARTA breeze cards. Could you talk about how y'all interacted with them?
Yeah, when we heard that there was potential to design a breeze card, our eyes went like stars, like, oh wow, that's so cool. I was showing that off to all my friends. Something I designed is on a breeze card,
And that was your design?
Yeah, well, we had talked about kind of like a similar like desire to get people to slow down and look a little bit. So we have like sort of like a and this like sense of discovery. So there's sort of like the MARTA colors like shooting out from the side, and then we put in like these honestly very difficult to read letters that said "Join the Hunt," which was sort of our like tagline for the project. So yeah, definitely people would look at it and they would go, wow, this is cool. You got to make a breeze card. And they'd be like, oh, what are these little lines? And they'd be like, oh, are those letters? And they'd say, what does it say?
It didn't become part of the like ongoing catalog of breeze cards, but
no,
it was a great experimentation.
Yeah, Fulton, if you want the design.
And then I know this was more Mira's side, but it was really cool to see the specific collectibles, like the characters, develop fans throughout y'all's residency.
Yeah, that was fun, for sure.
So there was like specific collectibles with specific personalities, and they had all meanings.
Yeah, we did some little trading cards and things, and it was kind of an idea of like such a diverse crowd of people you see on MARTA. We wanted to reflect some of that, and also like our first character was like a soccer player to kind of reflect some of the station's soccer fields around town. And yeah, we had one of my favorite parts of the whole thing is in Decatur. We had this family come up, and there were these two little girls, and I forget what they said. It was like this mom and her like 4 kids or something, and the kids ran up and they're like, we want to do this scavenger hunt, and then they ran off and they were like trying to convince their mom to let them do it, and they came back finally, and they were like, once they finished it, they got the trading card of the first character, and they're like, this is Rhea, and we just found out about her, and she's our favorite thing ever. And we were just like, yes.
It's like immediate impact.
Yeah, it was so nice to see.
So going more into like your own creative practice, how do you see design? I mean, it's like inherently tech related because like your tools, you're usually the platform, but can you kind of talk about how you see like arts and tech in your own creative process?
Yeah, I mean, I think art and technology is, people talk a lot about the intersection of art and technology. It's a very busy intersection. It's a very crowded intersection. I think honestly, those two things it's almost like not worth it to think of them as separate. You know what I mean? There's always been a marriage between the two, even going back to like what paints could they mix back in the day. It's always been very tied up. An artist's output is obviously linked to the tools and materials they have. So it's really exciting whenever people are pushing the boundaries of those tools, like sort of inherently the art will reflect that and be something new and interesting. And even if it's related to previous practices, like the implementation of new technologies inherently change how that art looks. And I think that's really cool. But yeah, for me personally, I mean, I'm just always fascinated by new technology. I remember the first time in high school we like ever 3D modeled anything and then printed it. I was like mind blown that the thing I saw on my computer screen, like I could now hold in my hand. So, it's a pretty basic reaction to a 3D printer, I think, but it really is like magical. I don't know, it's cool. Yeah, it's just, there's so many new and interesting paths forward. I'm always trying to explore those.
How have you taken this experience into either your creative world or your career? Like, how does it impact your life, and kind of thinking about it from like the perspective of someone who may be interested in doing something like this?
I mean, definitely it's all about bragging rights to my friends. No, this is the first artist residency I've ever done, and it was really encouraging and exciting to know that these opportunities exist, and that, I mean, this one in particular was so niche. It was awesome that I found it. But sorry, going back to it, how has it impacted my life? Yeah, just understanding that this is an option for people is really cool. And thinking about having a creative career is, I don't know, it's not really something I considered coming out of school, but yeah, knowing that those opportunities are out there, really.
So what's next for you in terms of your creative practice or just your career in general?
Yeah, creative practice, career in general. I'm headed in July actually to a math and art conference in Eindhoven. Shout out to the Bridges Art and Math Conference. I don't know if I'm allowed to shout stuff out, but it's always some interesting mathy artists doing cool stuff over there. Mira and I have been talking about maybe doing some more scavenger hunts. They were really well received, and we would love to continue to work with MARTA, with Fulton, and develop some more of that. We've got some really fun ideas about what we could do. And yeah, just exploring some different technological artsy things. Cool. Always.
Are you presenting at this conference?
I have a little art piece collaboration with another artist. Yeah,
cool.
Who's not Mira, sadly. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Math. So you said your title is sometimes mathematician, artist, but
yeah,
how do you define
definitely, that? Mathematician is generous. Hobbyist, amateur, math fan, as bad as that sounds. But yeah, I have like a typography project actually that I worked on with another artist that we're submitting. They have like an art gallery, and then they have papers, and I have something in the art gallery. Can
people find you on the World Wide Web?
On the World Wide Web, if you go to owenrohm.com, you can find me. Yeah, OwenRohm. Or if you want my social security number, just send me an email. I'll get that to you guys.
So thinking about other artists that may be looking into residencies like this, do you have some words of wisdom just for someone who is maybe even not calling themselves an artist yet, but is thinking that might happen? Yeah,
definitely the classics. Drink plenty of water, eat your vegetables, 20 minutes of exercise.
You're so serious right now.
No, I think that I genuinely believe that it can be very stressful to, start considering yourself an artist or start having that in your mind as part of your career or your identity. But if you just find something that you're interested and passionate about, and you follow that and you develop it for yourself, these sorts of opportunities will present themselves if you're patient. I think people can get really caught up in like, I need to have, this many hours a week dedicated to sketching and leveling up my perspective abilities and everything. And that's honestly, I think, kind of damaging. And if you just find the thing you're interested in, you will naturally develop that ability and those skills. And then when something like a MARTA Tech and Art residency presents itself, you will find that you're like actually kind of qualified and ready to do it. But it is sort of a patience thing. But trusting in that process and self-motivation is, I think, genuinely the best path for people.
And staying in the flow.
Staying in the flow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and talking with us, Owen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Talk Fulton. We have a whole new cohort of artists at the Public Art Futures Lab. We look forward to sharing their projects with you over this next year. Thank you.